and then we go to test selection. In um, test selection is based on the contracts for web services. um, like um, we have to find out what kind of a data should be selected. So we see the preconditions and the post conditions. So we extend the still description to accommodate contracts and check for preconditions and post conditions. So in a contract, if the contract information is compared with the mutants, and if the mutants and the contract information are not similar, um, we just keep it like that. If they are similar, we kill the mutant. It's the other way around with the post conditions. So for a test datum, if the results of the precondition checking are not the same for the mutant and the original, the mutant is not killed. But for the post condition, if it's the same, it's not killed. Here is one example. We make an experiment, do an experiment based on two types: evaluated test adequacy criteria, where we discuss about the coverage. We discuss about statement coverage and branch coverage. Statement coverage and branch coverage is nothing but how much of test data have you covered. So we have to then in the experimented web services, we have two things, which is contracts for middle and contracts for try type. So we have preconditions and post conditions for both of them. So when we do an experiment based on this, we get results like this. So number of in the first chart we discuss about the number of test data for the middle and the try type. We see that 15% have been selected out of 81, and in the try type 10 have been selected from 262. So the second one, we focus on the data and we narrow it so that we get only 10. And the second graph tells you the statement coverage. In the middle, using the middle, it is 1 and 1, but in the try type it is slightly lesser than 1. And the third diagram is branch coverage, which is 1 and 1 for the middle, and for the try type it is 0.87 and 0.826. The pros and cons of the framework are: pros is effective runtime data collection, so that the best way to test is to get the runtime data so that we can test it effectively. And contract based mutation is used to select test data, which is an effective method, so that the mutants can be killed if it is the same, and we can select the data, since selection of data is very important, because we cannot test the data with all the data we collect because of the cost issues. So to reduce the cost, we select it and then test it. So cons: this strategy relies on the post condition to check whether an error is revealed, which exposes limited errors. So it checks for the post conditions whether it is satisfied or not. Next one is a BEPL unit test framework. The BEPL is nothing but Business Process Execution Language, which is an emerging standard language for composing web services. It is nothing but XML. It has many workflows in it, and it is complex executable program which interacts with other web services. And the functionality of BEPL is nothing but it It's the invocation of web calls from and handling the results of such calls. The internal logic is nothing but it will ask which web service to call with what parameters and such details. And the way the WebL processes communicate with their surroundings via standard web service calls is of great advantage to testing. Then the natural approach to testing WebL processes is to create a harness around the process under test. So we create we test only the process under test. So then we see the client processes and the partner processes along with it. WebL testing architecture. In WebL testing architecture, we have four layers. The bottom layer is the test specification, then the test organization, then the test execution, and the test results. In test specification is nothing but it will specify like where the XML should be placed and all those things. And in test organization, it will collect all these test cases and it will organize into a test suite. And in test execution, we execute this, and in the test results, we get the results out of the execution. In the first layer, we formulate the test data and its behavior, which is done by two methods. One is data-centric approach and one is logic-centric approach. In data-centric approach, the incoming and the outgoing data are predefined and read from a file and sent to the process. So the data is used for this testing approach, and it is obviously sent through a SOAP message, and this process is flexible and not expressive. And logic-centric approach is nothing but it's a program. We test a fully developed test logic is written in a programming language, so the test developer will have the flexibility to check whether there is a proper logic in this one, but this will cost more money because the developer has to be very good at it, and he has to figure out the logic whether the program is in a correct shape or not. In layer 2, test organization, we organize these test data and we place it into test suites. And there are two approaches, which is nothing but integrated approach and one is separate approach. So integrated approach is nothing but we integrate all the test cases and we place it in a test suite. Separate approach is it depends on the need, what the requester asks for. If it has to be sent separately, so each and everything has to be placed in a different suite.